It came from.
So this is the part of the show where we search all over the internet, in this case specifically Reddit, to bring you topics the community is talking about and where we think we might be able to give a little bit of input. First up, how do you handle a user interview when your interviewee talks too much? So this is from the user experience subreddit from I am just here to exist. I love your name. Hey guys, I just had my first user interview and it took longer than I expected. While I'm glad he was elaborating with each of his answers, he was taking too long and I hesitated to interrupt him. This resulted in skipping usability tests for the sake of time. How do you handle or lead an interview? Should I just allocate more time to my interviews? So Elise, I think this is a perfect question for you because you have a lot of experience doing user interviews, doing usability testing, and dealing with and structuring these kind of events to avoid some of these pitfalls. So what help could you provide here?
A couple things. So first is just planning and buffer time. Like anything that you plan, you can run it through with one of your coworkers or colleagues, and it's just going to fly by like a breeze. It will take longer with actual participants, like, whether you're doing a usability evaluation and doing it with technology and it like something happens that you just have to like figure out on the spot, or your participant is talking long, just always build in that buffer time no matter what, because it will usually take longer than you originally anticipate. Though dry running it definitely helps. Make sure that you've got your questions locked down. You're really targeting the things that you care about. And everything, is you've got that timing expectation down. The other thing that I kind of like to keep in my hip pocket is having like a cutoff point in the interview itself. So I tend to structure my interviews so that like the highest priority topics tend to be towards the front. So if it's starting to go long, then if I drop off a couple questions, it's not the end of the world, because in my mind, the usability test, absolutely critical. Like if you've got that person coming in, like that should be a priority in that session. And so coming in with kind of your topics in mind prioritized, so that if you have to cut off time and you can't get to everything because your participant's talking so much, then you have that as an aid going into it, so you can still get to some of the important parts with that session. The third thing that I would say is sometimes when I have had experience with this situation, I've had it quite a few times. But I think one of the things that helps is, sometimes when people talk a lot, part of it I think is stemming from making sure that you are hearing them. And so if you have nonverbals that are trying to rush them through, that might actually add to the problem. So I like to use tactics where, I repeat back things to them. I kind of roll it up. Is this correct? And, the more that they feel like they're being heard, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I have found that as the interview goes on, the participant kind of eases into it and has less to elaborate on. So those are a couple initial thoughts that, come to my mind just based on my experience. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, that's the best advice I could ever give, right? Just be strategic about what you're going to do and be ready for the thing that you tested inside with colleagues or whatever kind of testing process you went through to kind of go out the window as you start to really bring users in.